Hi everybody, and welcome back to Fandom Crafts. I am Kathryn, and today we are going to be practicing our water bending skills with an Avatar: The Last Airbender inspired painting. So what I'm going to use today, I'm going to use some watercolors and then some watercolor brushes, and then I'm also going to be using some acrylic paint and then brushes for that. And I'm also going to be using watercolor paper for my actual base. Now, you can use any supplies you have around. These are just the ones that I'm preferring to use for this craft. So the first part of this is going to be super simple. You're going to take your watercolors and your water and your paintbrush and then your watercolor paper, and you're just going to sort of apply a background of watercolors to your paper. And I'm choosing to use cool colors because I think those will go the best with the idea of water bending. So there's so many ways to get started on your background for this painting. Watercolors are super versatile if that's what you're using, and I am just showing one example of how to do this. So I'm just applying a pigment with some water and blending in different colors until I like the results. And I'll show you a couple of other ways you can make a background for this as well. You can also start with wet paper, which I have in front of me here, and then just sort of tap on your colors as you want them. And you can sort of spread them out a little bit. This is a great way to get a more washed out background if that's what you want. Just be careful not to use too much water to begin with, or else you'll oversaturate your paper and it'll get all crumbly. But this is another cool thing you can do if you want sort of a lighter color in the back. And of course this will take longer to dry as well. Or you can start by getting just a whole bunch of wet paint, just very, very wet watercolor pigment, and sort of trailing it across the top, maybe adding a little bit of extra water, and then sort of letting it fall down your page. Sometimes you have to kind of keep adding so that it'll actually sort of drip like you see it did at the very top there. You can also mix colors this way if you want. Let's see if I can get it to... And you can even get water on there and blow on it. And actually just use the water sort of in place of your paintbrush a little bit. Let's see if we can get it sorted that way. Yeah, there we go. And of course I'm making a mess on my table, but it's watercolor, so it cleans up super easy. Point being, there are tons of different ways to use watercolors, so choose your favorite techniques and then apply them to a piece of watercolor paper for your background for your painting. Now that you have the background that you want to let it dry all the way. And your paper is probably pretty wet, so it might take a minute, or 30, or maybe an hour. But you want to make sure it's all the way dry. And if you happen to sort of have this wrinkly paper problem here, the best thing to do for that is when your paper is dry originally, go ahead and paint the back with just some water and maybe a little bit of paint, and that should even it out once that dries. Now once your background is dry, go ahead and look up a picture of the water tribe symbol from Avatar: The Last Airbender and paint it right in the middle of your background. I'm going to be using white acrylic paint so it stands out. If you're using a sort of lighter background, you might want to use a darker paint, like a dark blue or something like that, so that it stands out in the middle. As soon as that dries, you are good to go. You can go ahead and slap this into a frame or just hang it up like it is. Now, if you still do have a little bit of a crinkly paper problem like I do, you can try laying it under something heavy like a big book and hope it will flatten out. Unfortunately, I just don't have the best watercolor paper, so it doesn't really hold that much water. So hopefully you have better supplies than mine, and I hope you enjoyed this little painting. Thank you.